When we get to the negotiation stages, by this time you've already had some initial conversations with the buyer. So what do we need to do in terms of ensuring a deal doesn't fall through when we've invested so much time? So there are a few things that really you need to be mindful of, in my view. Deals are very much influenced by risk, return, and competition. So what do I mean by that? So with regards to risk, the lower the risk, usually the higher the value and the higher the interest of your business. So the higher the return or potential for return, again, is something that a buyer is going to be looking for. So, how long will it take for them to get their investment back? What sort of recurring revenues, does the business generate? So these are some things that we've touched on just before on the previous slides, Alan. And then, of course, there's competition. Buyers don't need to know how many people you're speaking to, but, it's not a good idea to tell them that you're actually talking to 4 or 5 different buyers. A buyer likes to feel special. So overpricing is just as bad as underpricing. So what do we mean by that? Well, effectively, there's a multitude of different ways to structure a deal, but it's quite key, and we touched on this earlier as well, to sort of remain open-minded about how we arrive at that price or expectation. Also, trade buyers versus non-trade buyers. Well, pretty obvious, really. A trade buyer is obviously a company that already exists. And then you've got a non-trade buyer, but a lot of people kind of discount these private investors. However, a lot of them are in touch with, financial brokers and other, sort of external finance and funding options. The first obvious choice for many sellers is I want to sell to a trade buyer, because they think that they're going to get a higher price and so on and so forth. Well, actually, the truth is, some financial buyers out there, some sort of private investors even, and PE and private equity companies can offer you just as good, if not better terms than a trade buyer. So again, just to keep open-minded about that, really, when exploring potential buyers for your business. So how to find out if your buyer is serious? Well, what Chelsea Corporate do before we take on any client is ensure that any client has proof of funds available, and they have to have a certain level of funds in order for us to agree to take them on as a client in the first place. That already helps us to ensure that we're not going to waste your time in introducing our clients to you when clearly they're just not going to have the ability to complete on a transaction. In conversations and discussions following the initial introduction, you start to build up a rapport, and you feel obviously whether or not it is the sort of buyer that you could work with going forward as those discussions progress. The obvious ones to think about are obviously the highest price, which may well be true, of course. Also, payment up front, 100% cash on day one. And then obviously the business to continue operating without any changes, which is also very important to a seller, of course. A buyer that can show you proof of funds, that shows commitment to doing a deal and the capabilities to be able to complete on a transaction. They also should focus on a hassle-free handover. So, they want to speak to a buyer that's open-minded, that isn't going to perhaps be a bit too bullish and arrogant and expect to maybe speak to customers and perhaps your staff before they should be, engaging at that stage and at that level. A deal that makes the buyer willing to compromise. There needs to be that mutual respect and understanding on both sides in order to agree a deal and to get a deal agreed in principle. You want a buyer that's going to listen, and you want a buyer that's going to care and actually talk to you about what they're going to do with the business going forward, and talk about the growth and the future potential for the business and what they can bring as well. A buyer with a vision for the business. You want a buyer that's going to take the business on to the next level. Especially if you're a part of the business still, if you're still going to be involved in it for 12 months for a handover, if there's going to be an earn-out or a deferred period, you want to make sure that they're going to be able to continue to grow the business, with you as well, so that you benefit financially, but also get on well with the buyer during that transition period. These are all important things that, as a seller, you should hold dear. As a business owner, you should really sort of think carefully about before selecting the right buyer.
Chelsea Corporate is pure buy-side M&A advisory firm. Some of you will obviously know this. We've been around for more than 12 years. We cover pretty much every sector within the UK and also internationally, from services to manufacturing, engineering, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, etc. And we work proactively based on the mandates that we get from our clients, which are business buyers. We have an unparalleled wealth of expertise across the team. I think if we put all of them together, we will have more than 150 years of experience in the M&A world. We would like to think that we have a very good idea in terms of what buyers of businesses want and what they are actually looking for, and what kind of business is attractive to them. Worth mentioning also a couple of additional points. We don't charge sellers fees, so there is no conflict of interest whatsoever. More often than not, we work with business owners who are not represented by a broker at all. And it's our clients, business buyers, that pay our fees.